You going to?
Okay, good afternoon, teachers. This workshop is mainly requested by principals. Her original intention was to ask all the teachers, including level leaders, to come here to share how do you boost reading in the classroom. Yes. She was going to come, but I told her that today only maybe Glenn and Ian has something to share, and Nicole has something later for me to share with you guys. So, she's not coming because she's still in the meeting, but I think we can end it in an hour. For me, I'm going to share how I boost and promote reading, extracurricular reading in my class in the past. When I select books, I kind of select books for three categories. I select one third of the book is more about literature, like kids' version of literature. And the other one, it will be more scientific. And that's one third. And the third one, I will choose something a little bit trivial, like maybe some popular movies, kids' version of novel, or something, with a little bit comic strip, but with lines in it. So I get to make all the students satisfied when they read, because they all take turns to read different types of stories. That it's more likely that they kind of have to mix them up. So they take turns to exchange books. So they might have something they look forward to. Even they have been assigned to read something is not really their interest. But the next time they will. So it's more likely to meet everybody's needs. I don't like to just select one series of books for 20 students, because that kind of thing is, for me, is risky. Because, for example, if you choose classic novels, and not all the readers in your classroom really love to read something classic. Some there are more scientific people. They want to read something about science, or they want to know something more international. Okay, that's how I select. And it's easier to introduce this kind of extracurricular reading when they are young learners, because they have less homework, they have more free time. So when they are in the lower level, I kind of assign them to read at least one book a week. At least once a week. And as they move up, because the content is a little more, I will extend it to 2 weeks, and for 6, I let them read a little thicker novels. I let them to take turns to exchange books every month. That's what I did. Okay? Do you guys have any other thing you want to share? Okay? And Miss Kwan's way of sharing is she has been assigned to teach lower level kids and more off-level kids. And I couldn't hook up to my internet because something is very weird in office. It's on and off. So I read it, so I'm going to just brief it. She said that she assigned them to read some designated pages each day. She made one column of the content book, and to write the name of the book and designated pages. And she told the parents, it doesn't matter kids understand the content or not. They just have to read it. And they have to get used to the pattern of the language. And there's a little column there for them to sign their name. And during the break time, she will ask some students to come to read some pages or some verses to her, kind of to examine if they actually read the book she assigned. And I think that's pretty much it. I know that different classes, they have different strategies in to actually encourage students to read extensively. Do you guys have any other thing to share? That something worked pretty well in your class? Sorry. Nothing? Johnny has something to say.
I was thinking about it, but it'll take longer to think.
So Ian would like to share something about teaching reading or writing, something worked pretty well in class, some kind of activities.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Well, this won't be too long, so don't worry. I can make it longer. So I'm going to need this. Hello. All right, so I teach younger levels, grade 1 and grade 2. I think a lot of people teach, maybe they'll teach a couple levels, or maybe 1 or 2 different grade levels, but within those grade levels, there are different levels. And so that's what I want to talk about, that even within like the grade 1 and 2s that I teach, some of them are really, really low, some of them are high. And they all, I think I have to approach them differently because their levels are so different. So I think one thing maybe we haven't talked a lot about how to teach kids is that sometimes we have to do a lot of the work for them. As they get older, they can do a lot of the work themselves, but in the beginning, we have to do sometimes a lot of the writing. So I'm gonna write a couple of sentences, the way that I write for younger kids who need some help. And then later I'm gonna write some sentences for kids that don't need as much help. Here, I'm gonna put this down, hang on. So if I'm writing about penguins, and that's something we write a lot about penguins, maybe we have a grade 1 class, and it's their first couple weeks, and we are writing title about penguin. We may have a topic sentence. We'll start with the topic sentence. I will tell you about penguin. We may have time order words. First, penguins, something, something. So for this example, we've got a lot of the writing, but that's okay. Because these kids, maybe they can't write a sentence. So we have to start with them just filling in blanks. So maybe we have talked about penguins, and we've written on the board what penguins do. Penguins can swim, penguins eat fish, penguins have feathers. And so we can start in the beginning by just saying, the first penguins, that's it. Okay? And then we go on to the next sentence. Second, penguins eat. That's it. Fish. That's it. So this is for beginning kids, where we're doing much of the work ourselves, but they don't know the structure, they don't know how a little paragraph will go, they may not even know how the sentence goes. So we have to do a lot of this stuff for them. Now, maybe we talk about time order words, sequence words. So maybe the third line I will say, what sequence word do we need? And they're going to say third, because we talked about it. Or maybe we use next. So slowly they start to write the sentence themselves. And then maybe the next thing will be third, penguins do something else. Penguins do something else, blah, blah, blah. They, like the can fly. And maybe that's all we're gonna write, that's it. That's the end of the first writing exercise for new learners. And then the next time, when we do the next paragraph, we have maybe kids, they will make their own title. Okay? Maybe we'll brainstorm titles, and so they'll write the title themselves. Maybe we'll have all penguins, cool penguins. Cute penguins. So the kids will choose their own title and write that down. Then we start the paragraph, where we start with the topic sentence. And I'll say, can we come up with a topic sentence by ourselves? And usually there's one kid that says, oh, let's learn about penguins. I will tell you about penguins. And so we write, I don't have room to do it all, but I'll write that down and they'll copy it. And then the next time, when we go to start telling about penguins, first, second, next, I'll just say, maybe I could just put first, and I'll say, I'll do this, and I'll say, what can we write? And they'll say, bird, penguin, big fish, and maybe they can write it all the next time, this time. So that's how we can go from kids that can't really do much, just filling in the blanks, to writing maybe longer sentences. Maybe when we get to second, I won't write that down. I'll say, can you put the next sequence word in? They'll put second or next. But that's how I start, from kids who have, maybe they can just fill in the blanks, or they can't even write a sentence, to kids can do more and more. Because all the levels, even though I teach mostly grade 1 and 2, within grade 1 and 2, some kids, they can't do much of anything. They have to copy it down, and they never learn how to do it. To kids that can come to the school with maybe 3 years of English and can write a sentence. That's how it works.
Mr. Steeman, do you use the projector for any of this, or you do all the writing yourself?
It doesn't take long to write on the whiteboard.
I know, but if you're teaching 5 classes, you got to write it 5 times. You just sit in the projector.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Is that it?
It's not 10 minutes yet.
We'll talk longer next time.
Okay.
Here.
Jake would like to say something later. I will leave you some time.
Dave, if you want to say something, go ahead.
Yeah.
Take all the time you want.
Hello?
You use projector?
I would. I don't.
Okay, so I thought about talking about reading, but then after hearing what Ian had to say, I thought talking about writing is a lot more useful. The kids at the school are inundated with writing. And honestly, I think back to when I was in school, and it's nothing compared. The kids here just have so much writing to do, it's crazy, it's insane. So I thought, why not try to make it easy for them? And we're lucky because we're using Spectrum, and I think Spectrum is a great textbook. It lays things down in a very formulaic way. So as an extension, I thought, well, when I teach, if I can show the kids how to set it up in a similar way, using the information that they already know, is probably the best way. And so far, I think it's working relatively well. It's not perfect, but it seems to work. So, for example, we talk about informative writing. Now, I think it's important to be able to give kids an opportunity to invest themselves in whatever it is they're writing. Typically, if you give them something, like a topic to write about, there's no investment. They're given something and they're told to do it, and they sit down, okay, so I start writing. But there's no hook. The kids have to be motivated to do what they're doing. There's always motivation, or at least there should be motivation to do what you're asking them to do. So if it's informational writing, there's certain things that we have to do using time order words or whatever the case might be, using as well as, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it'd be good, first of all, have them pick a topic that they like, right? That's the big thing. So right away they're invested in it. And from there, it's just a matter of laying it out. And you were saying, Dave, about writing things on the board. I've got a lot of writing classes, and it starts, every time we do a writing project, it starts off the same way. And I show them what it is I hope to see. We use Spectrum as, how do I say, the foundation, and then we build off of that. And I write them examples on the board that they can follow. So let's say they write about their favorite holiday. This is just something to start off with. So kids have very black and white opinions about what holiday they like. So they say Chinese New Year. Okay? And then I try to have them come up with something specific about Chinese New Year that they like. It could be food or whatever the case might be, the time off, red envelopes, whatever the case might be. Okay? And generally, this part of the writing process is quite easy because they're still invested and they're motivated to write about it. So they start with the topic sentence. Okay? And the topics, for example, are already here. So if they talk about food, what foods do they like? So everything relates back to them. And that's the whole key. Things always have to relate back to their own experience. And that way they're motivated to keep writing. So time off, what do they do with it? Okay? Red envelopes, how much money do they get? Everything always goes back to them. So at the end of the day, and it keeps coming back to the same point, if it has to do with them, generally they're more motivated. The more motivated they are, the better quality of writing that you usually get. I'm not including everything here because the whiteboard is too small. I'd be up here for probably...
There's another side.
No, it's okay. I'd be up here for a lot longer, but you can ask the teachers that I teach with. Generally, when we start a writing project, the whiteboard is full. But I'm trying to lay it out in a very simple, straightforward, as painless as possible way, so that the kids can do what they're asked to do. I get what I want. And again, it's not so painful for them. So that's it. All right.
I was just thinking, why did you put this one so far away? I was just thinking about one question that I got some feedback from some parents. They felt that our writing spectrum is more about academic writing. They felt some kids are not really encouraged to write spontaneously, like during their free time. I have a thought of inserting something I talk about that with writing teachers, maybe to assign them to still write some journal, like maybe just twice each half of the semester, but now reckoned as homework. Not given score and just write comments. Because I felt that that's also how I build up writing skill, by free writing. And also that's how I develop two different brains in my head. One is English, one is Chinese, and to kind of convert back and forth was by free writing that my professor assigned me to do when I was in university. It was basically just write down whatever comes across your mind, and you don't grade their grammar or grammar mistakes or anything. You just write comments, like how you feel about that. And For me, like when I assign kids to do journal in the past, I would just take a look at each student's journal, but I would generalize what their common mistake, a common error, and I kind of made it part of the class to explain certain things that have been trying to use a specific hint and try to use it wrong. And I don't know what you guys think about that. You guys think we should let kids do journal? Yes?
I unfortunately have a negative comment about that, and that is that for the writing teacher to write comments about that is impossible. We don't have time.
That is exactly what I wanted to bring up here, because when I brought up, we were having problems like, should we let ESL teachers to assign, or should we let writing teachers to assign?
There's no way that I can add any more work to my workload. I won't get done.
I remember in the past we were asked, required to do it. So, how do you guys think about it? As a teacher, do you think we can just assign him journal? Because actually, kids are also given a book called journal, like each semester. Maybe just assign them to write 1 or 2 pieces of journal. Because I get feedback that the kids, they only can write when they are given a structure. But they cannot write anything on their own. That they cannot create their own stories. Yes, Daniel?
The issue came up, yes, we're not going to mark it.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do when parents start insisting that it should be marked?
You can say that to
Who's
me.
gonna
I will
mark
tell them why it shouldn't mark. Because you can never mark students' car. When students roll you a car, do you mark it? When your kids ride you a Mother's Day car, when there are a lot of errors on it, do you take out your red pen to mark it? You do? I think we have to separate like this kind of no pressure like paper writing or academic writing. For spectrum, we are training students to write certain genre, because if we are training them in the future to be to be able to write anything when they take any testing. But now we're talking about kids who are not feeling free to express themselves. For me, my daughter, she loves to write. She said that in the past when she was in EM class, like, why could I only write 1 page? Why couldn't I get 10 pages to write? Why can I only write 1 thing I like? Why can't I write 10 things I like? Yes?
I think the culture and environment matter. The parents will ask us they want it, even though the office say no. But the parents will ask the teacher to do it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
What if the kids exchange journal, like, taking turn, and the kids can read each other whatever they write, and then have they comment it?
No, they are not. No.
It's okay, but at least they are having fun, right? And they are trying.
Parents want the correct answer.
But I think as teachers, our job, we are language educators. We should let parents know what's the proper way to learn. As a native speaker, when you first started writing the journal, was it 100% perfect? No error whatsoever? Even when you wrote in Chinese, did you write everything perfectly? Did you use all the proper idioms properly? And why do we expect kids to write in English as a second, as an EFL student, and to expect them to write something on their own perfectly? But if you never give them a chance to try, they can never develop the skill. Same as if you never let your kids hold their spoon to eat by themselves, and they never eat by themselves. They need to be spoon feed. Yes?
I totally agree. Everyone makes mistakes, and even the parents want teachers to point out the mistakes, and the kids won't make the same mistake ever again. That's what parents want.
Every kid has same.
Yes.
Perhaps the correct way to approach this is not to force all of the kids to do it, but to allow those who want to do it. So that maybe the teachers can say, if you want to write something, bring it to me afterwards.
And you get some rewards.
But don't make it that every kid has to do it. Because some kids hate it and they don't want to express themselves in writing. Allow those kids who want to do it, allow them to do it.
Or it could also be done as a project. You have your curriculum running and then you have project inserted in there. There's a week for that, it's done in class, but it's not marked. And these things are communicated to the parents at the beginning of the semester.
That's what I want to bring up now, because if that is the way we're going to do it, we have to make a part of the content for PTA to let the parents know. We're going to give them some chance to write freely, without any pressure.
Then I think that it should be voluntary. Not from the teachers, voluntary for the students. Those who want to do it can do it.
But once again, the curriculum is already designed, so this is something that is thrown in there. Do we have time for it? That's the first thing that we have to look at before this is communicated to the parents. I mean, I think this is a great idea. I think this should be in there. But I think we need to put it in at the beginning of the semester, and if we have time, we can do it. We can still do it.
Yeah. So you can insert two project first.
Project.
For reading and writing.
So that means
not 4, 5, 6.
No, 4, 5, 6. I think 4, 5, 6 is okay not to write journal because they have a lot of writing already for writing spectrum. Writing something a little bit lengthy already. But it's more about lower level. Parents they feel the kids can even write maybe a 3-paragraph thing or even a 5 sentences small paragraph. And so that we don't give them enough chance to practice. Yes?
Not part of this program or nothing, but one idea I would throw is something I have that might help with this project. It's a huge wall poster I have at home, and I've created it myself. It's got 150 writing ideas, and what it is, it's either a writing idea or what I call story starters. And it's sort of like, what happened if, is it ever okay to, and the whole page gives an ideas, and the students will choose one of the ideas, and I have to write we should make some rules, make choose these things. I actually want to show you. Yeah, exactly. If I here, I can't remember it's 12 or 15 pages long, and each page, and like this page starts out.
It's always going to be changed.
Is it never okay to, and then I got one by page. And then the next one, what would happen if? Yeah, and then a whole page of what would happen if. Do you understand? And it's called 15 pages. And they take with that and then write a paragraph based on it. Like, is it ever okay to, like here, lie to teacher? Is it ever okay to then lie to a teacher? And what would happen if, and what would happen if, like,
so we have to kind of foresee this. Do it in class.
Yeah.
I am not one story. Because I'm told it's a big puzzle, and they choose an idea, and they write that idea, and they write it. If I showed you, it'd be easier to understand. If I showed you, it's a big poster.
Do any of the teachers have something to share?
Hurry up, say something before it's too late.
Yeah, say something before it's set in stone.
We're gonna vote.
Okay, if you think we should have journal project,
Stand up.
please put up a hand.
Project, but how? How do we do that?
Just assign them to write journals, like we have a one book journal. Individual journal. Yes, Glenn?
Maybe this is a compromise, like in reading classes, a lot of the time, well, most of the time, I do story questions.
Yes.
So maybe a shortcut or maybe a compromise would be having questions about the text that have to do with the story, but are asking the kids questions that would pertain to them as it relates to the story. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe you've got 10 story questions, maybe 2 or 3 of those questions have to do with how they would imagine themselves in the story or something relating, connecting them with the text. Do you understand what I mean? So that could be a compromise.
Yeah. But then reading teacher will have to do it. Like assign the student to do it.
But it's something we'd be doing anyway.
Yeah.
We're doing story questions, so you could maybe incorporate that into the story
I don't
questions.
intend to actually add any workload on everybody, but I just really think that we should think about it. That's really how we started writing. And we haven't provided kids enough chance to write freely. And if we never give them a chance to let their creativity and imagination go wild, as they grow older, they just will be more restricted with that. They can never develop it. And I do know that in order to make them write properly, especially young age, you do have to give them scaffolding. But I really think that we have to divide into 2 categories, the academic writing and free writing. We have to assign something like that for them to get a chance once in a while to write it for fun.
Then I think it needs to be voluntary.
Yes,
And then
because
for
I
another
also
thing,
agree.
if like Glenn's idea,
Yeah.
it's not creative writing.
That's what I also want, because it's also derived from the reading text.
It should be let them write whatever they want to write, right? That's not
Yeah.
creative writing.
You
Yeah.
know, we have trouble with the parents about the shy students during their speaking test.
Yeah.
The parents get annoyed with us because the children are afraid of speaking and then we mark them low. And this is going to be the same thing is going to happen.
There's no mark. We are not going to give them
It's
mark.
eventually going to go that way. I've worked here long enough. I've worked here long enough. It's eventually going to go that way. But if you make it voluntary, only the students who want to do it, instead of forcing all of the students to do it.
Okay, I agree. For my class in the past, I did the same thing. Like I tell them they have to write it, and if they don't write it, nothing will happen. But if they did write it, it's fantastic. And then there's I will give them some points or some rewards. And the more they write, and the more rewards they get. I kind of use this kind of strategy. And there are some, because especially for upper level kids, they are overwhelmed by other responsibility, in Bushiba, they don't really get to write. But there are still people that really love to write. So when we have this kind of thing as part of as homework, and we use rewarding system, it's non-mandatory. And when parents come back to me to say, oh, you haven't given the chance to write free, I say, we did. Your kids didn't want to write. He will get rewards, and obviously he doesn't really care. Yes?
I think the kids, at the end of the day, they're just going to perceive this as being extra work. Really. I mean, it's nice that your daughter, she's motivated to write, but I would say if you take a sample of 10 kids, maybe 2 of those kids or 3 of those kids are going to want to write something extra on their own. The other kids are just going to view it, they're going to perceive it as just being extra work.
Then it's going to work in the opposite way. It's going to push other kids away because they feel like they're being forced to do it. So it's voluntary.
Exactly. That.
It's voluntary, I said voluntary, but you have to make it part of the homework assignment. But if they can do it, they will get extra points. That can be part of the thing that you include on your parents' PTA. This semester will be encouraging kids to do it. They will get extra rewards. But it's not mandatory.
I still have to say, though, that the writing teachers do not have time to look at it.
I am not asking for more. I'm just saying you can, as a home teacher, can just give a scan or write one line or just one word as a comment.
Just let students exchange it. You can try it for like, for fun.
as a teacher, I would like to hear your voice.
In my experience, you have to just tell. They're not going to give you an opinion.
Survey. Other
Survey,
That's a good question.
anonymous survey,
Yes.
anonymous survey about that. Okay. Then sometime next week. Okay, there will be anonymous survey about this writing. Okay, I will give each of you a sheet in your tray and it's anonymous. Okay? All right, thank you. Do you have something else to say?
There was a question about how are you going to get, for example, grade 1 students to write. They want to write, but they don't know how. They go home and they say, I don't know how to do it, but I want to do it.
Last time after I talked to you guys, I did go back to my home and check out my bookshop. I found 2 books that how I taught writing in the past when I first started teaching. They are some books designed for creative writing. They are given squares of different things, like different actions, different objects. You kind of have to use a spin. And there will be sentences given as a column, a chart, a place to draw. It's copyable. And kids can just use a thing as a spin and to write, to fill in whatever they have got. It's just kind of for fun, fill in. Yes.
See, even though it's a free writing, you need to teach them, to lead them.
Yeah.
What are the time limits?
Right.
It's not just about free writing. You need time to teach them. Otherwise, how can they write?
And if half the class doesn't want to do it, when do you do this?
And as long as they write more and writing something nonsense, the parents will come and want to teach it and check it. Why my kids is writing something like this? It's nonsense. They have no organization, right?
I can make a note, official note, if I'm going to start doing that. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to educate the parents what's the right way to teach writing. You have to let them write without pressure, same as in Chinese. You cannot possibly mark all of their projects. Everything they do will be marked. Just believe that everything that you do will be marked. Will you be discouraged to do it, or you'll be encouraged to do it?
Which subject, which class?
Yes?
There is an alternative solution to this problem.
Yes?
And that is, these skills you are talking about can be taught by the writing teacher when we are doing the projects. And the projects are not voluntary, everybody has to do it. So those skills that you're talking about can be taught before we do the project. And then after you've done the project, everybody knows how to do it. So now if you want to do your extra writing, you know how to do it.
Okay. So that means we cannot start it until the second half of the semester because they have to first do a project.
Well, I don't have all the syllabi in front of me, so I don't know when the first project.
Okay, I'll talk to you later in person, okay? All right, so then we can let writing teacher to introduce themselves first. And I will go to find some reference book that is copyable for you to use for a different level for creative writing. And you kids don't have to buy the book, but it's copyable. So you can just copy and glue it into the journal for kids to write. Is that okay? And about marking or non-marking, and I can make an official note once it starts to notify the parents. Why do we have to assign this kind of extracurricular writing to let kids write freely? What's our goal? And what's our purpose? And why we're not marking it? Okay? Because international actually have been doing that for the second school year. They did spend some time to convince the parents, and now they're fine. It wouldn't be easy to start, but you never start, and you'll never get easier. Yes?
So Gina, you said convince the parents of what?
That there's a journal we don't mark.
Yes.
There's a journal for kids to write about their thoughts or feelings.
But Gina, you know the culture, everything's predicated on marketing. everything is predicated on marks and scores.
But we have to try. It's
I
not
know,
because
I'm just saying, that's gonna be a hard sell for the parents.
I'm not afraid to face it. I'm not afraid.
Well,